All right, just a second. Good evening, everyone. All right, let's start with making a short mandala offering as a token for requesting the teachings, and then Geshe will lead the way with correcting a motivation with refuge and bodhicitta.
Sangye cholam tsole cholam la chanchu pade dami kyasuchi rabi chushi gibe sonami rola panche sangye dopasho Sangye cholam tsole cholam la chanchu pade dami kyasuchi rabi chushi gibe sonami rola panche sangye dopasho Sangye cholam sopi cholam la chanchu pade dami kyasuchi dagi chushi dipe sonami tola panche sangye Kangi tuzi nizon ni tawa tamche pambish tambi chun tunze kodum tela chanze lo Good evening. Cousin Tangan's cousin Gabru Korea, Chick Shideros, Ratinan, so Ani Gabsungan, Sanji Conjo, and Gab Temoko, Senamundo, Animans Gab Tatu, Senamundo, Joja Tatu, Sanji Conjo, the child is. She is at the Titoya, the Montreal, Kanakan, she's somebody was Charles on
We've been discussing the objects of refuge in the last few sessions. They all come under the topic of refuge. So in discussing the objects of refuge in the previous session, we looked at the Buddha as an object of refuge, and Geshe has discussed this object of refuge for quite some time. We regard the Buddha as the teacher, as the final object of attainment, as our consummate refuge. That's the first object of refuge, the Buddha.
These are that Chadang Kazus and share tuba, Kazus, some tuba, and Chona in deed circuit, and Semayata, Kongita, Pasha, and Kanjiton, Kavachibu drew the Sivuras Ra.
And still, if we continue to discuss that, to teach that, to think about the objects of refuge, we place imprints upon a mind stream that come through developing familiarity with this topic. And this is what we endeavor to do, to place as many imprints as we can. For us, the most important thing as Buddhists is refuge.
This is the Kichi Nami Logic Tolia, sure by now. Then Shemba Karchi Devania, Pendo Magic. And such a magic cherry over the Yata Malaysia.
And we say that for us, it is the most important thing, refuge, because if we come to disregard refuge, whatever we do will become of no benefit, right? It will be whatever we practice or whatever we undertake will bring no benefit if we disregard refuge.
먼저 두 상당한다. 내 기침부터 통과했어. 두 상당에는 너무 가르치기 취시해 버리네. 아니 지 냠년증이 가르치기 감정 껴 버리네. 대만 때문에. 그거는 인식민치 기점으로 생기치고 왔어. 내가 주 차고서 그 당보고 내가 차고서 뒤치고를 뭐 다 같이 랜드 소리지. 돈 주요 말았어.
This is a really essential point in that whoever might be the Lama that is teaching you at the moment, whoever might be the practitioner, in all those circumstances where we have a great Lama that is giving teaching, practitioners that are undertaking certain practices, we're doing different recitations, taking up different prayers and so forth. At the beginning of all those teaching sessions, practices that we do, recitations that we do, at the very beginning, there is refuge. And it's not that we recite the verse for going for refuge just because we seek to imitate the way that other people are doing it. There is a great significance to beginning everything that we do. First and foremost, we're going for refuge.
대전한테 아니 겸주 고당부 겸주 공원디기 겸주 군주스 세타원디기 안 소소 세타가 있는데 밀레야 겸주 군주스 때는 산지 군주도 아직 모두 집에 가려야 나지 로르기 소리치는 샤샤 많이 봐. 산지 군주기 아니 고수 투순기 연대 재미토는데 아니 생각이 초여가 장래의 생각 초여가 아니 생각받지 모두 시도하나 아니 바자 캐워진 시작이 왔다 아니 슈고 말았어.
So then when we begin a session with making requests or supplications to the three objects of refuge, or when we visualize them, or when we give an explanation of the objects of refuge to others, to begin with, when we go for refuge, or when we speak about the Buddha, then it's not that we just take the Buddha to be that historical figure. It's not that in going for refuge to the Buddha, we just regard the Buddha as this historical figure. Rather than that, we want our heart to be moved by the qualities of body, speech, and mind of Buddha.
제가 상서도 스타든 수수 통수로 왔어. 가시기 수수기 지 자위 라마디기 지 송소선의 디 쇼지 아니 지단 야보로 왔으니 쇼지 산기기 송을 쓰라바나 아니 지 제용 그 소리지 남에도 샤자 인디기 천왕 상서 용어도 베드 노르겨래다스 이게서는 베드 노르샤스 템비 다보디 때문에 좀 된데 산기 공으로 왔어.
And if our heart is moved by the recollections of the body, speech, and mind of Buddha, then that is significant in terms of placing some substantial imprints upon the mind stream. So this is a really important point because we want to look at the way that we relate to the Buddha, to see if we hold the Buddha as someone that is very important to us. Like, for example, if a certain statement is being quoted and that statement comes from a brute lama, it is likely that we're going to consider that with great appreciation. And it's not that it's not good. It's good to have that high appreciation of the instructions or the things that we are told by a root lama. But then if we have that high appreciation of the things that our root lamas are telling us, and still when we look at quotations that come from the teachings of the Buddha, or come across statements that were said by the Buddha, and we are a bit indifferent towards that, or we have a sense of disregard to that, it is indicative of that lack of appreciation that we have to the teacher, the Buddha, the Bhagavan. After all, we regard the Lama as being important or precious to us because because of the Buddha. Because the Buddha has shown the way, the path. And that exact path is then revealed to us by the Lama. We regard the Lama as being very important. So it is because of the Buddha that we regard the Lama as being very important.
마도 산지 많이 교지 아니 랑길라미 니에치는 남들 랍샤지 자원이 디오마로스 다리오마로스 메타제로스
Gombe,
산지 마송기 산지 많이 교지 라메 마나샤지 요마로스.
After all, whatever is given to us or taught to us by the Lama is not something that was not revealed or given to us by the Buddha.
These kanji and Nazu some Kantamania and Sanji di Sachimbu Shuji in Bachi, Tong to Yach, Semnania, Sort to Yachiki, and Yamlinch drove with us. The Sortugana and it's Sanji with that Marsh and Lambdan Manjagi, and the color D and it's Semnaya Pinch, Sanji Children Juyach, the Ongogras, rock.
So then in terms of how we take it up in our practice on a practical level, we want to, in our heart, develop that appreciation of the Buddha to see him as being someone that is really important to us, very precious to us, so that we'll be open to listen to his teachings. And then if our mind is made open to listen to his teachings, through that, we're going to receive the blessings of the Buddha.
This Tanda Nonzolaya Pena, the chick Kamiya the Chesaki Lama Samki Mikiva Yenza, Pena Jawro Chitarugi, Karinangado, Pena Kubar Chijiva Inaya, Sanjom de Digita, Kubar Zu, the Pilia Shamchi, Zu Nanchi, Long Jitanwaina, Zu Sanji Song Matanchi, those Nangados, and so dichagonza kanji sanji chulaya nyamne chene nyon tembaji andi chalaya ani yona yaurmuchires that di yaurmuchir di mena that shima kavu peres ro.
And we can see how it is exemplified by lamas that we hold in high regard. Like, for example, someone that we look up to is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So then looking at the way that His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been displaying that the point that Geshe is speaking about. Well, if there's any image or photo that is being displayed in His Holiness's teaching, the main one is a photo or an image of the Buddha. If there's a certain scriptural citation that is given, it is mostly of points that were taught by the Buddha. So if this is someone that we look up to, or probably the foremost one that we look up to, then there's something to begin by looking at the way that His Holiness approaches that topic.
아니 고속도로 지단도 상황은 제와 있는가 아니 뒤에 야오르무치 꾸찌고 제대 많이 봐 뒤 코이 참아가 제토와 있는가 로비게라도 생각을 지 고속도로 지단지 저거 그단지 아니 로비게 쉬어도서.
So we had recently opportunities of getting teachings from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. They were all broadcasted on YouTube or on other media. So it's good not to just look at His Holiness, but also to just check the surrounding, because Geshe reckons that you can get or tweak a few points that just by looking at those live teachings. Like, for example, the way that statues and so forth are arranged. They are representations of body, speech, and mind. The way that offerings are made to them. You can actually learn quite a few points when you look at the whole scene.
And tembi koti and so che and yede yonaya and gumundo down o kunzu kobatsma shawn. The tembi daboti, tembi tembagi, tembi yanhingi, and so that ten songi konambaso 차요 시우로스로.
So then Geshe just tries to recall the scenery. So the main figure was the Buddha. There was an image of the Buddha. Then to the right and left, there were some other statues or images, like, for example, of Nagarjuna and so forth. So thinking about this whole setting, it just illustrates that the main figure is of the teacher, the Lord of the teaching, the Buddha.
And how did the Jaurumchik than the Kujapilia jumped in the Lodukawa Chibi Kawki? Any Kuninchik dos, any dog than the chick, Chatang dos of the chicken, any Kundot. Di Kudi Jaurumchik, Mixi, any Kutin Jion, any same good take those. Come Mambulea song your restaurant. Jumped in the Kulitin dish junction, Mobos of Sangiri is lonely. Nganzu anji tawa the tamjin kimba to chevalaya. Kali give local some rochiki. And it's so the young does it. Chitanchina, Rantanganzula, Tindiski, Malaya di, and it pig. Sugar, shatsi, trot of the Nyama to be. Kienro's red was rock.
The image that was displayed behind His Holiness was of the fasting Buddha, a statue that represents the Buddha in the 6 years of performing ascetic practices. So His Holiness has commented before that this is the statue that gives him great inspiration. So when we think of how something like that can give one great inspiration, then thinking of how much great hardships the Buddha went through before attaining the state of Buddha, and in order to attain the state of Buddhahood, then we also need to be willing to put that much hard work into our spiritual progress, and even to undergo such hardship in order to pursue the states of liberation or the state of omniscience, the state of Buddha. So we need to be committed or willing to go through that much hardship, and yet it seems that in our mind or in our heart, we haven't given rise yet to that feeling of being committed to that degree. And if our commitment to that is not that strong for the time being, in some sense, you can say that it is indicative of not fully relishing the flavor, the taste of Dharma.
아니 다다도 가시 송사기 다간 춘준디 나눠야 고탕도서 개공카는마 샹다스 저 나저도 개공카라야 고탕지 고벌시 저는 세자까샤도 사치신 샹마라스
Also, when you look at statues and so forth that are arranged at His Honor's residence, it seems that they're all behind glass, right, in those glass cabinets. Geshe had before people protesting that if we put statues or photos and so forth behind a glass cabinet, they will dim the clarity. You know, you'll not be able to behold those objects in a really clear way.
This is the dindiji when a nganzu any castle that you kusung to being each other and that you and the secha samya lutam matuaina then it that you zachimu kazus zingi yobadi tahakudos.
So then if we're not even able to, in our mind, relinquish that, adhering to wanting something that is clear, something that is fine, and so forth, in some sense, it is also indicative how, what is the sense of appreciation that we develop to the things that those statues and so forth represent.
Ninjun pusuma seter wasra samsam rema ngara sam tawn di samsaliya ngi pi choshim di nimba chala nimba tsongsa chini khongkhew chini nyes ra nyes ani ngara gi tent di the magic robot chesma do saw sagyan nyes these sounds is down with Kodojuroshi. Ah,
In that sense, Geshe says he looks at himself and then see the points in which he gets things back to front. Like, for example, the altar that he has in his room was obtained from a second-hand shop, right? So he got a cabinet from a second-hand shop. Yet the mattress that he sleeps upon was bought completely new, a really good mattress. I got that with the help of another person. So a mattress for sleep, brand new, but the altar is just from a second-hand shop. So that's getting things back to front, isn't it?
These are not so chedang some time so chedang some time soji yartuanda yakshi direbasra.
So then if you reflect upon yourself or whatever you're doing, you can make amendments, can't you?
Oh, these are kanji ngonzoge, that's sanji kumulaya, and Tsultrim zillogu in a tiki kunyin sunjalaya, covert sunjalaya, and it's Tonchim led to Yag, so the sanji chusul ship tomata, yongores, that your 2000 diredosra.
And we adopt a certain mental attitude when we look at such images as statues and so forth. We see them as being a Buddha in actuality. And the reason for seeing them as Buddha in actuality and appreciating them so much is because of the Dharma. This is also a point that His Holiness has been emphasizing, that we do that because of our appreciation of the Dharma.
Sanji Sombi chusul dilia, Jani. Di Tony, and Sanji Yondin Tontuina, and Giomevachik, draw, and Tebaina, Tebatembuchik, and Camdrain, Camdratembuchik, the Yungudosra.
So then, if we develop an appreciation to the Buddha based on the mode of the Dharma taught by the Buddha, the faith that we develop in the Buddha would be unshakable. Also, the appreciation of the Buddha will become unshakable if it is done on the basis of appreciating the Dharma.
This is that did it, and Captain Sanji, and Kosutu Yonde, and the Shivshin, and Chawaji, and Niger, and Jutu Marna, Nazutachi, and Medusa, Nyogosra, and Nazu Nimasum, Sajirina, Nimasum. Zap and a Pubusum Grinia, and Sanji Kunjo, Korchi Witch, Pilia, Yachusum, the Shima Sajirina, she only. And on the Nyogro Sami, Sanamalia, Senanji Yongo Dosra, in a one deep Chishimach junction, Nimasum with Dunta Shinganga Tuchilia, Sanji Kunjo, Korang Tolia, and Droning Che. Tokbatla, and it's a ship sound and drogo ejecta, ready in the Tanganzu, and the Sam Shumaros.
So, though it might be time to move on to the next subject of refuge, the Dharma, still, Geshe wanted just to say a few words about the qualities of body, speech, and mind of Buddha, and yet it seems that if we still continue with a discussion of the qualities of the body, speech, and mind of Buddha, we'll all get bored. After all, we've been discussing the first object of refuge, the Buddha, for 3 sessions. So how many hours have we been doing it so far? Well, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 hours we've been speaking of the first object of refuge, the Buddha. So it might seem to be quite a long time, but still Geshe reckons that we can do it for far longer, to actually discuss those qualities over a few weeks, 4, 5, or 6 weeks, using discussion and raising doubts and so forth. And Geshe reckons that though it might seem to be completely inconceivable that we discuss those qualities of Buddha in that manner, still there's quite a lot to be gained by doing so.
이 펜더여레스라 사모나 펜더여레스.
But still, Geshe is wondering if you have any questions or any doubts that you have with respect to the Buddha. You know, if you do, then we can discuss them, and not only you will benefit, but also others can benefit. Any questions, people here, people at home? Nathan?
When when Geshe was talking about the three bodies of Buddha, there was one that exists by its own nature. I'm wondering if that's Buddha nature.
All right, so when Geshe was speaking about the three bodies of Buddha, there was a body that is called the essential nature. Is that what, or the essential, the essence kaya? Yeah. So you're wondering if that is referring to Buddha nature? Sangi kusum tola nyama chiksoin ba. Dila ngo niko se de sangi rikla shegirves.
산지 리디 산지 마르와스 라 산지 리피게 다치 도발랑기 네컵스는다 먼저 다치 심징 네컵스 아니 산게롱기 최지래야 산지 릭스기어레스 산지 심비컬이야 산지 레모도 산지 릭스 락 마르스tilra.
Well, Buddha nature is not Buddha. It is that which can become Buddha. It is a phenomenon that is suitable to become a Buddha body. So at the time of being still a trainee, which means that when we're still sentient beings, we have this potential, this phenomenon that can become a Buddha body. So we train as trainees, and at the end of the road, when we become Buddhas, that Buddha nature is no longer Buddha because we're already Buddhas. The Buddha nature is no longer Buddha nature because we're already Buddha. So we have Buddha nature in our continuum.
Yoros nimu badata shijiteba kanji lori tumada and taron in bichadi sanji rija chogores.
So what can we say with respect to the Buddha nature that all of us have? Well, the Buddha nature that all of us have is that suitability of being liberated from afflictions, from afflictive obscurations and cognitive obscurations. So that suitability to be free from them, to be separated from these obscurations, is a Buddha nature.
Naya sanji riyobati the cousin himanganzo denji shebe kaptulaya ngokba shebe kaptulaya ni sem nyumu da taro yimba chik shiyoros ro nenga zu din tengores.
Without this Buddha nature, there would be no purpose in making effort for the sake of attaining the state of Buddha. If we had no Buddha nature, it would have made no sense to make effort in pursuing the state of Buddha. But we did speak about that nature in relation to the Four Truths. When we spoke about the Four Truths, the third one was true cessation. And we spoke about the possibility or the suitability of being free from the afflictions or from the obscurations.
Sanji Rik said the Mixi Sir the Drungoya Chita, and it's Gugan Latin Drungoya, the Digi Remedos, Toma Mebani, Nonsola, Toma Mebani, Ranchus Yobadi, and Sanji Rik Chados.
And the Buddha nature that we have is not newly created in a certain situation. It's not that it is forged by a particular thing. It's not created by causes and conditions. It is something that exists for us primordially, naturally.
So and same giranje wesa se titoni jogogoris.
And in principle, the main thing is that it needs to be practiced on the basis of the nature of the mind, which is clear light.
The same giranje wesa se la malana. Ani nganzu gyulaya chadam musu yobati nganzu semleya chadam musu yobati sem ge ranshen laya shugyo mares sem ge ranshen mares di lor king topki ani chadam ke shawaji mato di sem ge ranshen mares sem ge ranshen mainza sem ge ranshen di timi maleba ani sem ge ranshen laya timi leba mashuwa ani vesawachik o diris o di riksha gores ta riksna dilla gores ro.
So we speak about this Buddha nature, which is more precisely in philosophical language, it's also called Buddha lineage, right? So the Buddha lineage that we have, the Buddha nature, the Buddha lineage, is the nature of the mind, which is clear light, the clear light nature of the mind. So what does it mean? Well, anger, attachment, and ignorance are not ingrained within the nature of a mind. These stains haven't entered into the nature of the mind, and as such, they're not ingrained within the nature of the mind. Due to some conditions, they come up adventitiously, but it's not that they are within the nature of the mind. These stains haven't polluted the nature of the mind, and therefore the nature of the mind is clear light.
Ani long timig drivchini ani nganzi khaswata thagba da masum tsu ani thagba chani ani tsu josha gi re ma to be khorang ranshin la ya ani timad shungna ba penanganzi ta ji rumbuchi gi la soba pen dinji ani dinji di ani ji ani tsokba dinji da thagba dinji na la ya ani chujaba na Diablo down the Zobel Soji, Tondel de Nea, and it Timadi Zobot Pa and June Tabaina, and Muchikora Ricari, but the two Sigros, or Dinashinch Dinashin Chagores.
So the nature is clear light, but it can be obscured by adventitious stains. Like something that is covered by pieces of dirt or dust. So if you think about it in a certain way, like for example, you have a precious jewel. It might be covered by stains, by pieces of dirt or dust. And it seems when you look at it just roughly that it is completely dirty. But then if you wash it clean, then it can gleam, right? There's this radiance that can come out of it. Which means that those stains are adventitious. They're not the very nature of that thing.
And Maripa, T. Shabi, and it's seven the Pachala Sobi, Togi, and it Chadan Kitchen, and it Chadan Drip Devich. From Nanzusem, Manchel, the Chadan Shaman, the Chadan Drip Devich, or Dili Chagda, Tinza, Negum Druji, Chadan D, and it Taya Yoribe, Saya Yoribe, Slavina, Yaja Jatamba Yobati, that and is Sanjison, that she be Druchin to see your Astra.
So the nature of the mind is clear light, and we can make it manifest or evident, obvious. But without cleaning the stains that currently adventitiously pollute the mind, it will not be made manifest. So we need to remove those obscurations, the things that obstruct it from being obvious or manifest. And those stains are the stains of anger, attachment, and ignorance. And of them, primarily, they are the stains of ignorance, the seeds of ignorance, and the imprints of ignorance. And that combination of ignorance, seeds, and imprints give rise to anger and attachment that obscure the mind. So we are under the control of such afflictive states of mind, aren't we? We are under the control of anger, attachment, and ignorance, but we can be confident, 100% confident, that they can be purified. That they can be purified is proved by reasons.
Terda nanzuta ani kunjo sumshi ongi sanji kunjo ani chu kunjo shebe kadleya chu kunjo so di tan gogbat shagoras gogbat sena ani nyumun sebe sabati kanji nyumun sebe sabati ani semgi ke nyumun sebe sabati leya gogbat segores te di ani chu kunjo ngodi tishayoras ro.
So we spoke of the Buddha jewel, and we also have the Dhamma jewel. So the main Dhamma jewel are cessations. Now, cessations are the exhaustion, the elimination of our afflictions, which are faulty states, right? So that elimination of faults is the cessation.
Nyumu seba cheya gobadi rang dibu goba ani shenla dibu goba yorsedi ta kanji rang din thatu baji jogo na ya nyumu se gu yobata shenden thashima ji jogo yone nyumu mi kyo se gu yobachi song ra.
And as we're studying in the advanced study program Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, one of the things that we've covered today is also related to the elimination, the exhaustion of those defaults of the afflictions. We say that if you bring forward the elimination of afflictions, you attain the consummate purpose of yourself, the maximum or consummate benefit for oneself. And if you also seek to be of benefit to others, you need to eliminate the afflictions.
Kyabngui nanzu dunghali kyabgo yenza dewa thogo yenza dunghali kyabngui di ani dunghagi kyu nyumuse de sebati ke dunghali mus kyabngui tirelos tiza da dimji kyabngui di ani ji trivjese namudo thobje ki lam sadi ani lamden di ani chukunjola ya ani kyabngolaya ro kyabngode tumbajilaya chagonza ani kyab ani chukonjola shayores ro.
So then when we look at the Dhamma refuge, we say that the elimination of afflictions is for us the actual Dhamma refuge. It is the main Dhamma refuge, it is the actual Dhamma refuge, because in looking at the very thing that we wish for, at the very basis, we seek happiness and we want to avoid suffering. We want to be protected from suffering. We seek refuge from suffering and the causes of suffering. So what we seek to accomplish through our practice is the protection from suffering together with its causes, which means the elimination, the cessation of suffering together with its causes. So for us, that is the main Dhamma refuge. And also there is the path that brings about the elimination of suffering and the cause of suffering. So also the path that enacts the elimination of suffering and the cause of suffering is for us an actual Dhamma refuge.
Ani ji zawigi 규제인지도 차고 알아서 뺐는다 지 아니 감전되야지 지 아니 나사야지 멘더피야지 차세야가 소고 참을로 디 도시기 아니 게인지도 차고 알이냐 아니 쪼디 로 고번 무슨 제시기 람스나문도 다 쪼디 아니 사바송이야 자료를.
So then that's the main Dhamma refuge. If we then look at what conditions do we need to create in order for that Dhamma refuge to take root in our mind stream, to create the cause and conditions that will bring about the Dhamma refuge in our mind stream, we do different things. We might say some prayers, do different recitations, recite mantras, make mandala offerings, make prostrations and so forth. All of those things we can regard as conditions that facilitate the development of the actual Dhamma refuge in the mind stream. So these are conditions, and yet they're still the main method for doing that. Those things that we've just mentioned are favorable conditions, but the main method, the main path to do that is the path of the three trainings.
대다 달라버송 나니 양 아니 조디 아로 비게 고빠 토버치비 객 조디 아니 뉴무 토송 나니 자와 마리바데라스 티 님부 뭐 님부 챙인디 시럽기 라바트 샤워라스 시럽 라바트 샤워라스.
So the main path, the main method is the three trainings. So then when we look at what is the principal thing in those three trainings, we first of all have to look at what is the hindrance for getting what we want. The hindrance is ignorance. This is what obstructs us from getting what we want. And the antidote to ignorance is wisdom, the training in wisdom.
Excuse me. 대단 우진이 뭐 쪼디 시럽기 라바티. 요. 다 시럽기 라바티겠어. 다디 임바이나 페나타치 산지처럼 처음에 전주보다 다이저 산지트버 쇼시 가서 다지 아니 겸로도 심기 때문에 칼이야 아니 시럽기 라바티 and 조금도 삼성기 더 보이는 쪽으로 왔어.
So the main antidote to ignorance, which is the main hindrance, is the training in wisdom. And yet we might think that, is it really the case? After all, as we commonly recite the verse for refuge in bodhicitta, Sangye-chutan Tsogi Chonamla, or to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Supreme Assembly, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened by my gathering of the two accumulations, may I become a Buddha for the sake of all, right? That's the verse for refuge in bodhicitta. We might think that wisdom is not directly expressed in that verse. So how come it is the main thing that antidotes ignorance?
산지초도 소주초는 잔주보도 다음께 수시비 다기 찍디 깔아야 셔르기라바칙로 겸루 아니 겸숨시비 겁들어야 셔르기라바칙 고투거레스 잔주 파도 다음 겸수시 다기 진소 기비 초는기 다기 진소 유시비 다 세티 깔아야 아니 다음에 어떤 셔르기 지 고쳐거레스 로.
So we say, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the highest assembly. So I is first of all, that is found in the beginning of this verse. You can say that it is indicative, or it implies the training in wisdom. Particularly since we say, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Supreme Assembly. by my practicing of generosity and so forth, or you can say by my gathering of the accumulations. The I is again implied in the second part of the verse, which then is implying the wisdom that realizes selflessness, which is the main thing in the training in wisdom.
Tinza ani kyamdru chibi kaduya sherab gi thoda chibi kyamdru chiyo bana ra kyamdru chiyo bana dot me bi kyamdru ombunumbu kyamdru chagoras ani semge dia sherab gi thoda chibi semge chiyo bana ani tabshi sondre sing chagoras ra ti goye pe kichimo ta dogi samano le kichishi di tabshi sondre to sungoras ra.
So then when we think about how the training in wisdom is also included within refuge and bodhicitta, then if we go for refuge supported by wisdom, we develop the best refuge. If we develop bodhicitta supported by wisdom, we have a combination, a unification of method and wisdom, which is so emphasized by Sutra and Tantra.
chanchu part dan kya chi shigala ani the sharvi laba tensu roti karslana manzo da sedi chidangi da sedi ngatisha ngam nyambi lui ro ngansing ki lolaya nga khandra chagwaris lawandi ngadi an sutu nitruba rangu nitruba kana ya madembi ani ji rangu wi ngaji chagiyoros inza chabatar matrubadi ani ngai nelures tentomi godi ani tamito bi sherabis ro.
So we say this verse for going for refuge. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. So there's I at the beginning of this verse, I or me. So what is the notion of I or me that arises in our mind when we think of I or me? When we think of I, when we think of me, there is the notion of independent self that appears to our mind, as if I or me exists from its own side. It exists in and of itself. It exists independently, not dependent on, not relying upon anything else. But this independent I that exists from its own side doesn't exist. The emptiness of its independent existence, existing from its own side, is what we develop in our development of wisdom, the training in wisdom.
The same thing goes and Dagi Jizogi with some brother Sanji Privashis, that said, sometimes cheaper.
And exactly the same way of thinking is developed when we recite the second part of the verse. By my practice of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha for the sake of all, right? So we think of I exactly in the same way.
These are the decardin suslam, that sheriff singing the da mebatavi, da rangun matruba, Tommy Lotelia, and sheriff sha. Chadang Gitsawa di Mari was singing the da rangun trouble Zimba Shawandi, that dini betty and a gamgachik dancers raw.
So we, in our going for refuge and developing bodhicitta, we think of these points in order to support the going for refuge and developing bodhicitta, so that the wisdom that we develop in that process is the wisdom that understands that the I does not exist from its own side. The basis for the arisal of anger, attachment, and so forth is ignorance. Anger and attachment arise in dependence upon ignorance. And ignorance of grasping at a self is directly opposed by the wisdom that understands that I does not exist from its own side.
Tinza Nan Penakasota, Nanzis and Digore, Maribas and Digore, T 아니 오늘 단에게 아니 우리님 뭐 갑자기 쪼디 아니 셔럽디 뭐디 베스우 차선스라 스우베 차선스라.
And in this way, it becomes very clear that the direct antidote to ignorance of grasping at the self is the wisdom that understands that I do not exist on my own side.
다 딘디기 셔럽디 아니 템부단 스우부단 아니 야부지 용약이 쳐도 아니 타바셴이라 땡고 그랬어. 수tum이라바다 땡이지라바야. 땡지 아니 셔럽디 아니 템부지 준투바이나 아니 다 차당 그자와 아니 마리바 아니 잠발야다 가서다 토범메주식 작어로서.
So if you're able to develop wisdom, the wisdom of selflessness, and take it to the point in which it becomes clear, it becomes stable, it is well developed, well and fully developed, it needs to be supported by concentration, the training in concentration, and the training in ethics. Right? So ethics and concentrations are the trainings that make our wisdom of selflessness become clear, stable, well and fully developed. And if you're able to develop them in this way, there is no doubt that you will be able to destroy ignorance, which is the root of anger and attachment.
데레다 딘자다 셔럽디 아니 셔럽디 야부지 용야라야 아니 땡인즈라야 투 땡인즈 야부지 용야라야 샘 차당그 온도 아니 나미응그 온 송바이나 아니 유라 찌지니 땡인즈 세디 다 용투 메바이자 디 니야치도 차당 고비기 아니 수름기 라발 땡고 그랬어 조 릉아키 아니 지 그게 제주 멤버도서 아니 차당 공원에서 디 고비기 아니 수름기 라발 디스 손제 된 거바이나 아니 다 도마투비기 아니 니케 치에메바레스로.
Wisdom that is fully or well developed depends upon the training in concentration. And so long as the mind is still susceptible to wandering about, being distracted by different conditions, for that long, we will not be able to fully harness the power of wisdom. So wisdom needs to be developed on the basis of this stable, single-pointed concentration, so that when it is developed in this way, faults will not withstand the power of wisdom.
샘기 장신 외사와디 수된 통인디 아니 라버스 마도 탑시요 말했어.
Now we use the word dharma in Sanskrit, and this word has related verbs or different verbs and nouns that are related to it. One thing that is related to the word dharma is the verb to change, to amend, to correct. And this is one of the meaning of dharma, the transformation, that correction, that amendment that we create, without which we're not going to be able to eliminate our anger, attachment, and ignorance. The amendments that we make in relation to anger, attachment, and ignorance are the things that will bring about the clear light.
디즈다 셔럽 템부키야 쳬드 땡인지 템부키야 쳬드다 수점세 수점 조디 아니 메기치고 수점 라 먼저 다치 세견 투무기 피다치 아니 냠네체 투야기 수점 라바디 메기치고 수점 차르도 아스라.
So we spoke of the training in concentration that supports the development of wisdom. And the training in concentration in turn is based on training in ethics. And the ethics that we speak about here is the ethical discipline that abstains from the 10 non-virtues, which is an ethical discipline that is common to both monastics and lay people. This ethical discipline that abstains from the 10 non-virtue is the bare minimum for a practice. So that if you're not even capable of developing that ethical discipline that abstains from the 10 non-virtues, there's not much basis for making great progress in your practice. So then thinking of what happens when we come under the power of coarse forms of anger and attachment. There's not much that we can do positively when we're under the sway of such afflictive states of mind. And we mentioned that today in our morning session, looking at Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life. We spoke of how our body and speech are, you can say, servants of the mind. So when a mind is governed by anger and attachment, we fall prey like slaves to those afflictive states of mind. And during that time, we cannot cultivate virtue. And as we said today when we looked at the Guide of Shantideva, in order to arrest anger and attachment, the best way to do that is, rather than being outwardly oriented, we need to turn back to look at ourselves and to think of the drawbacks of anger and attachment. That's the best way to put a stop to anger, attachment, and the like. The best is to look for the good qualities of others and to recognize your own shortcomings. That's the best thing. Well, this is the best approach that we can take, to look for the good qualities of others and to find our own faults. Still, we act in a way that is totally contrary to that. We become proud, and through pride, we fault others. We find faults in others, and it makes us being incapable of generating good qualities. No realizations are generated when we're taken by pride. So Geshe is wondering if you have any questions.
This is one that came up a few teachings ago. Is that, being brought up a Christian, my father was a minister, Christians would come into our gompa and they would see all our statues and they would say that we are worshipping idols. So I'd like to get you just to talk about that a little bit. Like, why is that not? How would he deal deal with that that comment that a Christian would make about our Buddhist temples.
All right. I need to think of how to translate that, because being an idol worshipper is not bad in.
It's not in Tibetan.
I mean, yeah, it's not like, it's not
Well,
something.
It is there in terms of.
Yeah, it's not there in terms of. Yeah, it's not like a term that presents a certain problem.
I see.
It's not a, there are
not
different
an
items.
issue.
Yeah, it's not an issue. So kind of when a Christian says that, it'd be hard to explain the whole notion of that.
They are saying then that we are worshipping objects as opposed to, well, I guess I'm answering my own question then, aren't I, rather than the essence of what the object is reflecting.
Well, I'll try and then see what, if Geshe has a certain way of looking at it.
Yeah, okay.
Dila Kran Pama Pinga Tenso Nyama Dinti Yishu Chulo, then this Samba just talk about Kashi then the Gomba then the Jewa inarwa, Dila Kundra Kusuntu the Mambo Yorwa. Then the Tewa, the Konzo Peshe Yawoton Samaresa. Kade Kansena Gyumsen Kares and the Jitenko Gupapo Ken and Chuten so Jitenko Papa Mato Hashem Batigimaro. Dila Hama Bochi Yutsan. The Yawot Samaresa. Kunda de Tewa ina. So Kunda la den the Tewa Chigre, Kunda Damindala, Yuden Damindala. Kunda Ranla den the Teba den the Kigures, Tonju Chigiresa. Kansam na Consola Len Kandechi Jenayagares.
지상이 단지 시대야 난중 원내기 겹 군조성기 비기기 남샤 내루 심바이나 모연내 적응 모두 제저라스 난주 비기려야 지 사르 도리 신기 아니 고샹샤기 특허는라면야 겹주고 요마로스 디기 난주 산지기 아니 지굿 잼비기 템버스에 체들어 지
Well, this is a situation where the more informed we are about refuge and about the Dhamma, the better our approach to that can be. Like, for example, when someone brings up a point like the one that you make, we can make it clear that it's not that what we appreciate are stones or wood or things that are made of fabric or whatever. It's not that this is what we have faith in. It's not that we have faith in something that is made of stone or wood and so forth. It's rather that we use those objects in order to remind us certain things. So they are just mediums. They're a medium for recollecting the qualities of body, speech, and mind. And this is the thing that we have faith in, those qualities, rather than the actual objects.
개지 건주 수직 만들어야 재활을 따로 쳐봐요. 근데 고급 약수직으로 왔어. 되는 건주기 무연의 쪽은 대시 야야처럼 왔어. 디마도 딱 건주기에 또 소소소 줄로야 쳐. 아니 줄로 셈발이야. 당 작당 온 손에. 다츠디 디 건주기 말어 왔어. 건주 탑시스키가 말어 왔어.
It's actually, if we have such discussion, it provides us with a great opportunity. Because sometimes when we look at certain divisions that is created between people following different traditions, if someone, for example, is following another tradition and they have a sense of aversion, animosity to another tradition, it's not because of us, it's not our fault. So when a certain situation like that does come up, we can seize the opportunity to actually get rid of such divisive attitudes or sectarian attitude. We can actually use that in order to develop a greater sense of harmony.
kundra se kosotu tense lara or dishangoros teaching the shambaros.
So it's not that we create those objects just to give rise to a sense of animosity or dislike in the mind of others. It's not that we use that as a controversial thing. We use those objects, we create different things, different objects from wood, stone, and so forth, as objects, as mediums that remind us, for example, the kindness of our teachers or the Buddha, in order to remind us of their qualities of body, speech, and mind. The way that we call them in English is holy objects, but the word holy object doesn't exist like that in Tibetan. In Tibetan, we speak about bases of qualities, so bases of qualities of body, speech, and mind. So we use those objects as those bases that remind us the qualities of body, speech, and mind. And this is the purpose of those objects.
Any kanji any to shana that to phone dig Yabura Samsung Rajimado, Telea Magalo, Kimudos, Tamu transition Kimudos Ra.
I'm going to do console
Shana Delia, Maga Kimudos, Kimudos, and then I think it's the Nanji Maga Kiet, Konzu Maga Chet, and it's only Maros Ra.
After all, the attitude that we take when, for example, we go to visit a church or a temple is not that we get upset or we develop a sense of aversion when we see a certain imagery that is used in the Christian tradition. It's not that it is there in order to incite a sense of aversion in our mind. And similarly, also, we can say that it's not that we create statues and images here in order to create some dislike or some aversion in the minds of others. Geshe has visited a few temples before, a few churches and so forth, and he saw people praying. And when someone prays with a genuine intention, a genuine or pure state of mind, it's certainly virtue. So you can actually rejoice, even if it's another religion. If people develop that genuine and pure intention, you can rejoice in the virtue.
So touched the and it Chadangilo Kesa never does see what was read us. Is it the hand? Geo Chagoros.
And when followers of such traditions make those heartfelt prayers to whatever objects they turn to, it is clear, Geshe says, that at least in those times, the minds are free from that sense of anger and attachment and so forth. So this is actually something to rejoice in. It's a positive thing. So Jennifer is asking, can you speak more about pride? What does pride look like when it is not serving us well? Or what can we do to be more aware of when pride is getting in the way? 그냥 ngārgē tōla chīk sōng bā. Zhē. Ngārgē sē di ngō kandē chī nās. Di ngā tsōla dukchā chē di kandē chī nās.
Then ngā tsī nāla dīndi yārs, ngārgē kōmbala yōndēngi chū mō sōs. Rā, ngārgē kī yōndēgi, āni chī kāsa tā chī shīngi mēna shīngi yō sāngsōng. And Yabu Jimena Yabu in Samsung, Lord Dindi Kivana, Nargerias. The Dindi Giovanna, and Shanley, to make Sambachik. Leondi, that leg with Chakarina, Shanla in the Yongo Wenza, some Kadre goes on the chick, and Chagados Ra, Nargeti.
There's a saying in Tibetan that pride is just like this bow upon which if you pour water on that ball, nothing remains of that ball, everything washes away. So in the same way, pride is like this ball that prevents the water of good quality from remaining. Kind of all the good qualities completely wash away. So because of pride, we cannot generate good qualities. No, the water of good qualities wash away or run away from pride. In that, with that sense of pride, we have that notion as if we are unrelated to others, not dependent upon others. Whereas any good quality that we can develop can be developed only in dependence upon others. So if we develop that notion as if with pride that we are unrelated to others, that we are independent from others, we block the door, the gateway for the development of good qualities.
Thank you.
So thank you. I'll put the prayers on the screen. All right, so couple of announcements. So we're gonna take a short break next week. So we're not gonna have a Thursday evening and also no Friday morning session next week. But we will come back the week after that. So you can find more details on the calendar on the website. So see the whole scale of the spiritual program. On top of that, tomorrow is a special day. So we have from 4:30 a.m. A sutrathon, which is a marathon recitation of the Heart Sutra, starting tomorrow at 4 a.m. as I said, and will continue to the following day, and will be broadcasted by the IMI Association, which is the Association of Monastics within the FDMT. So different centers within the FDMT will take turn in leading recitations of the Heart Sutra, and all the Sutra Galore will be on YouTube and maybe other forms of social media as a YouTube. So we will also take part in that. Geshe will, so first of all, some of our nuns will start leading those recitations early morning, 4 a.m. So please, sorry? And yeah, some of them. And Anitani, the kind of the great monk, sorry. And Geshe will also lead the recitation from 10:30 to 11:30. So please join us for the recitations. If you want to come along and recite it here together with us at the Gompa, thumbs up. If not, then you can do it from home. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And 4 p.m. Shakyamuni Buddha Puja won't
Yeah.
be online.
And on top of that, since tomorrow is a special day, then at 4 p.m., which means 4 afternoon, we're going to have a Buddha Shakyamuni Puja, which will not going to be online because we're having the other thing, the Heart Sutra, being put online, and we're kind of facilitating the whole thing. So that's what's going to happen tomorrow. So please either come along in person or join us online. It's going to be great. Make the Heart Sutra great again.
Sorry. People recite the Heart Sutras to send the accumulation, because that will be offered to the ones.
All right. So if you are also going to do tomorrow a lot of recitations of the Heart Sutra, please keep a tally of how many recitations you do, because we're going to sum up all the recitations at the end, and we're going to offer it to our lamas.
And one of the things that, what I can gather, we're celebrating is our ordinations.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. International Sangha Day.
Yeah. So it's International Sangha Day, which actually one of the most important things that I failed to mention. So it's part of the International Sangha Day. All the Sangha members in the FPMT organization. Hallelujah, sister.
And brother.
And brother. All right. Yeah, 10:30.
Are you sure?
My house, my rules. So my Gompa, my rules. So Geshe said that his idea tomorrow was to say a few words about the Heart Sutra, to mention what the main subject matter is of the Heart Sutra, and then also do some recitations. But it was wondering if it's all right, or whether the rule is just to do recitation. So I said, my Gompa, my rule. So what do you think?
Well, Margot's idea,
Yeah.
you were here for her idea, was 10 minutes Geshe reciting, and then to show the rest of the community recite.
But we can still include some
But
words
I think,
of
it would be nice, because there needs to be included some discussion anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, there is it. How much time are they allowed?
So yeah, I think that the official program was that Geshe can do whatever he wants.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not gonna throw the towel. So
You are silly.
Naughty.
So we can do that. We can do recitations, and we're gonna have Geshe reciting. We'll also have the sung. So Geshe will do the recitation in Tibetan.
Yes.
The community here will do the recitation in English. So we're also gonna rotate the camera and the mic and everything, and also at the end of our time slots, if there are questions, you can post questions on the YouTube live feed.
Yes.
And if there is a question about the Heart Sutra to Geshe, then at the last 10 minutes in that session, we can try to
And beyond that, we have
answer.
to have another session on that.
Yeah, and beyond that, we might have to have another session or another course on the Heart Sutra.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Stay tuned. All right. I'll put the
It's
praise
100 million times the merit.
100 million times of merit tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right.
It'll be great.
It's going to be great. Chanchu Sancho Rinpoche, Make Pama Kegyuchi, Kepa Nyampa Mepaya, Gone Gondo Pewa, Sho, Kewa Di Nyudu, Lama Sange Dugyone, Roa Chikya Malupa, De Salago Pasho, Karira We Kowe Shinkan, Pendan Dewa Malu Juene, Chenre Siwan Tenzing Yatsoi, Shape Site Padu Thank you Chi, Tsultrim Chin Changu Yahweh Tenzing Jang Pewe Kuzi Do Kuzi Cho Song Kowe Le Mon Tu Pada So Du Chi Kondo Shabdi Shu.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Dangerous Nigel. Delinquent Nigel.
Good night, Nigella.
I could just go do a bit of movement of furniture. If anyone would like to help, that would be great. So we're ready for
Thanks, Leonie. See you tomorrow, the day after, or oops, I'll come and help you in a second.
Yeah, obviously I did.